In Legend of Mana, you can catch some monsters to add to your team. But that is only a side thing, basically. What if we had an actual monster taming game of the Mana series, though? Hello and welcome, my Mana Tree leaves. This is Monsters of Mana. So, should we keep this monster taming system? I honestly think it's pretty unique and thus it works fine. That means we have actually two ways of obtaining monsters in this game. The first one would be to find an egg while exploring with your monsters and catch it by luring it with bait. The other way would be breeding. More on breeding soon. First off though, how do you as a monster tamer even work in this made-up game of my mind? So, we are set in a peaceful Fadir. Don't worry, the peace will be in danger, giving you entertainment. Taming monsters has become a sport popular around the world. Well, taming monsters and fighting, of course. Cause you cannot have cute pets without some bloodshed between them, right? Now, you have become a tamer too. But for that you would also need a starter, of course. The world of Mana features 8 elements. Usually, monsters don't necessarily have an element associated with them. But for this game, each monster has exactly one element, no dual elementing. And that element can also change, more on that later. And it can also have attacks of different elements as well, so you have a better build for that. Each element is opposed by another, like fire and water, or wind and earth, and thus does more damage to a monster with that element. The fitting starters, at least to me, would be the following. Mushroom for wood. Well, it is a mushroom, so that fits. Rabbite for moon, as moon is the more confusing element, and thus, well, the dancing of these rabbites can confuse you and stuff like that. Choban hood for light, because, I don't know, it kinda fitted in my eyes. Really no real reason here. Imp for shadow, because it's a little demon, like, of course it works. Fire Drake for fire. It even has fire in its name, but with the system I established, the Fire Drake could be water elemental. Oh well. Sagin for water. It is a water-based creature, so that works perfectly. Needlebeak for wind, as it is a birdie, and thus wind just fits. And Molebear for earth, because it is an earthy creature and can even dig itself underground. Choose wisely, but don't worry too much, because you can just get all these monsters later on as well, of course. Maybe even in the early game, because the way this works is unlike Pokemon. These are early game monsters in the world of Mana. Each series has them in the beginning, and thus it just makes sense that you can get these starters early. So the term starter really only means it's the first you get and isn't really a special partner. But hey, make of it what you will. You wanna breed it away anyway at one point, I guess. You do not control the monster yourself though. They will act on their own, and the higher their intelligence is, the better they will fight. Basically like in the Digimon World games, Digimon World 1 for example. Before the battle, you can also set up priorities for what they do, like concentrate on attacking or healing. More options open up with higher intelligence. Also, a monster like Rabbite, that is usually weak, can be just as strong as other monsters with enough training. And that is also where breeding comes into motion. So, each monster has a set of genes. These genes have different types. The first type is the species gene, which determines which species your monster has. You can breed every monster with every monster, like in Dragon Quest monsters, and what you get as the outcome depends on the species gene. You either get one of the two monsters you used for breeding, or, if you do it right, it might just end up in a completely new species. Explore them all! Next is the elemental gene. This determines what element your monster is. Yes, the starters had specific elements, but if you would breed a rabbite with a mushroom, for example, you can even create a rabbite of the wood element thanks to that. So, like I said already, every monster can have every element. The next type is the color gene. This determines the color scheme of your monster. So you can make a white rabbite, for example. Basically, when you breed a rabbite, which has a yellow gene, with a fire drake, for example, which has a red gene, you can have a red rabbite. And yes, there are monsters that are just differently colored versions, and those would look similar. But well, you can still choose which exact species you want in what color. So technically, even two monsters that look the same could be different species, like the rabbite and the king rabbite, for example. Also, you can find the rare color genes, like silver, gold, or rainbow, if you are lucky enough. The next set of genes are the skill genes. Each monster has 3 of them, and each gene contains 8 skills the monster will learn at certain levels. These are basically spells and techniques to be used in battle. When you breed a monster, you can have the child inherit 3 of these from their parents. So they are not species bound, except when you grab a monster egg from the wild. Then they will always have the same 3 skill genes. And finally, the ability genes. Basically, they work just the same as the skill genes. Each monster has 3 of them, and via breeding, you can mix and match. These have passive abilities in them, like raising a certain stat or healing a bit of HP after a combo of 10 hits, stuff like that. Again, there are 8 per gene, and you learn them depending on your level, and you can mix and match them, though in the wild they are set on the monster you catch. With that, the main mechanics are out of the way. Tell me in the comments what you think about those. I'm looking forward to your opinion on it. On to the story though. It starts simple. You start in your small rural village and just got your tamer's mark. Of course, your goal is the grand tournament, becoming the best tamer of them all. To do that, you have to challenge 8 tournaments in 8 different cities. Winning one tournament lets you challenge the Element Master, each one of the 8 specialized on one of the elements. Defeat one and get their mark. Defeat all of them and get entrance to the annual Grand Tournament. But while you travel through towns and dungeons, you also face some darker tamers, an organization in search of the mana tree. As you encounter and defeat them more and more, you realize their goal is not something beneficial to the world. They wanna use the power of the mana tree to control all monsters in the world and, of course, cause video game, conquer the world with that. Naturally, you not only become a Grand Master by winning the Grand Tournament, but afterwards, when the sky turns dark, you yourself gotta find the mana tree as well. Which of course you do, where you do challenge the boss of the Masked Man and his very powerful monsters. He has much more experience than you, breeding monsters for centuries, but he is missing one thing that you have. You are the protagonist of the story and thus you win. The world is saved. Hooray! I hope you liked my idea of this game. And tell me in the comments what you think about it. Would you love a monster taming game in the Mana franchise? Be it like what I just described, or maybe even completely different and more like, I don't know, Pokemon or something. Tell me all of that. Leave a like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. And also, check out the video over here. There. It's there. And, well, I hope to see you next time as well. And enjoy Visions of Mana, because I know you will be playing it if you're watching this video. Until next time, bye-bye!